this is not them selling Bobby and Mike. Like, this isn't blowing up the team, but it is leveraging the assets that you have to make your team better for next season. One Royal Way back at it here on Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Joel Penfield. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure you're subscribed on all audio platforms. Like, rate, review. Leave those notification bells as well on YouTube and on your audio platforms, when these episodes go up. It's a Sunday night. Normally, I am live on YouTube at 8:30. That's about when this episode is going to come out on Sunday night. With some of the internet connectivity issues that I've dealt with, still trying to resolve those. Don't want to go live and deal with all the issues like we did on Thursday night. So hopefully this will be resolved quickly, and I'm not going to have to deal with this moving forward, and you guys don't have to deal with it either. We'll recap the series against the Miami Marlins, preview the series against the Chicago Cubs a little bit, and where this team is heading. Obviously we'll talk about that when you lose a series to a bad Miami team like that, when these games are about as must win as it gets. This show is always brought to you by Emprise Bank. Member FDIC, our partners in Possible here at Kansas City Sports Network and One Royal Way. We can't thank them enough for all the support they give us to be able to do this show multiple times a week for you guys. The game on Friday was weird. Obviously got off to a rough start. Seth Lugo got knocked around quite a bit. Felt like he couldn't fool any Miami hitter. He gives up home runs to Stowers and Jesus Sanchez. Say, all right, well, this is not a great start. It's 5-0 in the third inning, and I know a lot of people probably did. They shut it off because this offense isn't going to be able to, hang around. A couple innings later, in a blink, it's 5-4. Nick Lofton infield single, and then John Ray, 3-run homer, first home run of his big league career. We talked about going down to Florida and working on some stuff and trying to get some things figured out from a swing perspective. Obviously, paid dividends early there, and always awesome to see a guy get his first big league bomb. Came in a pretty big spot there, and then later in the game, after the bullpen kind of locked things down, held Miami in check. Lugo still gives you 6, even if he really didn't pitch that great. The fact that he was able to get into the 6th inning and keep the Royals in the game was massive. John Ray, opposite field, again, ties the game. I mean, an unbelievable swing on a backdoor cutter. He just serves it out to left center, one of the deepest parts of the yard, and it's a tie game just like that. And, from a very unlikely source. I know the game obviously ends up getting away from the Royals in extra innings. And it looked like we were heading in a direction where it was like kind of the unsung heroes were the reason why they won this game. John Ray, 2 home runs. Adam Frazier, obviously much maligned when you look from a perspective of those that fans that saw that the Royals were trading for him. Like, you got to be kidding me. Why is this guy back? Well, he hits a 2-run double, gives the Royals a lead, and then Carlos Estevez just, gets knocked around. Throws a fastball down the middle to one of the hottest hitters on the planet, and Stowers hit it to the moon. I don't know if it's landed yet. And you snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, getting kicked in the nads, and, you lose. And it felt like the game started out this way more than it did, it kind of ended. Cal Quantrill is an ER flirting with an ERA in year 6, and he goes 5-6 innings shutty. And it's like, what are we doing here? Like, it felt like that the Royals were letting Friday's game beat them twice. And that's not something that we saw from this team a lot last year, where gut punch loss, all right, able to get off the mat, get back at it, find a way to win, or at least be competitive. Through about 6 innings, that didn't look to be the case. Salvi hits a big home run to tie it, and Ursig just, for the lack of a better, just melted down in that 8th inning, where he has been one of the most reliable guys for Kansas City pretty much his entire career. He's in one of the roughest stretches he's had since his rookie year in Oakland. I'm not throwing up any alarm bells, red flags of like long-term concern for Lucas Ursig, but clearly this is a really rough spot when Estevez has seen some regression to the mean. Steven Cruz has had a couple of outings that are not great. Like, your bullpen's kind of thin. Like Daniel Lynch, who was giving you innings, even if they were kind of ticking time bomb type innings. Felt like, oh man, where are we going to go? What are we going to do? And I don't think that Ursig is anywhere out of the circle of trust. The track record is there, even if the numbers are not the same or as dominant as they have been in years past. He's still very good. It's just relative considering the amount of success that he's had in Kansas City thus far. It just hasn't happened right now. And ever since the pre-back injury, post, he has not been the same guy. He's shown flashes. He pitched well on Friday, but going back-to-back days, you don't know if that back was barking at him or what, but they needed him, and he didn't come through when he has very often in that spot. I mean, he'd go and walk, double, intentional walk, and then a double, another intentional walk, and then gets out of the inning. But by that point, I mean, the game was basically done. Like, even with 2, 3, 4 coming up, like, it was done. Just because this offense just has not been good enough. They only had one opportunity with runners in scoring position. Only left 3 on base. They had 3 hits in the game. It was Tyler Tolbert, who immediately got picked off, Nick Lofton, and then the Salvi homer. That was it. Indy 0 for 4, Bobby 0 for 4, Vinny 0 for 3 with a walk and 2 strikeouts, and then 0 for 4 from Michael. This team isn't winning games if that's going to be the offensive output. I mean, just flat. And we've seen that throughout the year. Like, damn games where the offense breaks out, and then immediately after, nothing. It's happened time and time again this year, and it's a massive reason why the Royals are in the position that they are now. To their credit, even if maybe you don't want to give it to them because they already lost the series to a bad baseball team, they showed up today and took care of business. Offense did well. Bubic did not have his best stuff. The fastball velo was down quite a bit. I don't know if it was fatigue. I don't know if it was, just kind of handling things. Looked like he was messing with his fingers. Could have been a blister. I know Royals Data Dugout mentioned that. Seeing that on the broadcast, I missed that part of it. But I also understand managing his innings. He's already surpassed what he did in 2024 by a significant margin already. But he still gave you 5 innings shutout with only 2 strikeouts, but only 3 hits. Really didn't give up a ton of damage. Pitched well there. Steven Cruz, Taylor Clark, Sam Long, Andrew Hoffman, who he was fine. The defense didn't help him. This wasn't a good situation, but it made it a 7-4 game very quickly when it was 7-0. Estevez comes on and gets the save, even though it was a game where it was 7-0 and there was zero reason for him to need to pitch. But offensively, they broke out a little bit. Mike Hill gets the sac fly to get them going in the 4th. And then Cag's big-time swing, just, sitting dead red, 0-0, and he didn't miss it and smoked the ball left center with 2 outs. I mean, it was a big-time hit there. He needed that. The team needed that. Able to put up a crooked number in the 5th or in the 4th, and then they come up in the 5th and do it again. Jonathan India double and Vinny sac fly. And it's 6-0. Salvi adds on in the 8th with a home run, 2nd straight game of the homer. He's got 15 on the year now, and he's only 12 away from 300. With 2.5 months to go, I'm not going to be shocked if Salvi hits 12 homers in the next 2.5 months. How many games? They're now 40, 50, they played 100 games. So the next 62 games, I think Salvi could hit 12 homers. He's done it before. He's gone on crazy home run heaters before. And he seems like he's kind of on one right now. He was on one before the break, and it's just kind of continued. So he's seeing the ball well. The OPS is up to 738. So from where we were in mid-May, wondering, is this kind of it for Salvi? He just finds ways to keep up, in the race with this and with this team, and continues to try and fight off Father Time as long as he can. And to his credit, not a lot of guys that play his position are able to. Especially at this age, with the amount of innings he's caught, the injuries he's gone through, and the bigger frame that he plays the catcher position with. It's not easy, but to his credit, he just has continued to get it done. All of that to say, obviously this is a disappointing week. I'll get into it a little more before we talk about the Cubs, but we do need to take a quick break, and we'll hit on what this series means kind of moving forward, and we'll talk about that right after this.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network. Emprise Bank has been with us from the beginning. They were our first network partner, and they believed in the vision of what we were building from the start. I can't speak to any other banks or companies and how they operate, but I can tell you from personal experience and based on the growth of the network you're listening to right now, that if you have banking needs, call our friends at Emprise Bank. We've worked with so many great people there over the years, from Vicky and Aggie to Andrea, Lori, Jackie, Deb, and Aaron, and not to mention so many others that not just supported KC Sports Network, but supported our KCSN Foundation as well. But the best thing that I know is that if I have a question or a problem, no matter how dumb the question is, I know who I'm going to call and who I'm going to talk to. And I know that I'm getting an answer from someone that I can trust. And I know that person is there to help us. That's why Emprise Bank has always been and continues to be our partner in Possible. And they can be yours too. You just have to reach out. If you have a banking need, whether it's business or personal, hit me up. I will connect you directly with the same people that have helped us build KCSN. And that's our friends at Emprise Bank.
Folks, there's nothing that beats relaxing on a hot summer day and watching some baseball. And there's no simpler way to get in on the action than by downloading the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. And the best part, Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now, new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe button if you have not already, everybody. I appreciate you hanging out. Obviously, we're not live like I want to be, but hopefully next episode we will be able to do that. So there's obviously a lot of conversation that's surrounded before, as the All-Star break hit, like, okay, these 12 games are super important. We talked about that on the previous episode on Thursday, that this is massive and the Royals have to find a way to win this series or sweep it before you go to Chicago. And that Cubs team is very good and are going to be a serious challenge for this Royals team, as we head in here. And you end up losing 2 games, one of which you had the game won and gave it away in the 10th inning. And then you also have a game where you were in it and blew it late. Neither game was great. One game your pitching failed you a little bit, and that's not an indictment on Lugo. Guys have bad starts. But they really needed a good one from him, and he gives up 5, so it gives you 6 innings. We gave up 5, and then Estevez, who's been pretty rock solid for most of the year, is having a bad stretch. And when you combine the fact that he and Ursig are kind of in a funk right now, collectively, the back end of games, it's not real comfy. The offense is still super inconsistent. Even in that game on Friday. I think Bobby was one of the only ones that had a hit at the top of the lineup. I'm going to go through it, but the game on Saturday where 1 through 4 is 0 for the game, you're not winning games that way. We've just seen it too often. But the game on Friday, Bobby had an infield single in the 10th. They kept the inning going. And I think he ended up stealing second, and eventually Adam Frazier comes up and, gets the hit. But India was 0 for 5 with 3 punch outs. Bobby was 1 for 5. Then he was 0 for 4. Michael had 2 hits. So 3 for, what is that? 10, 14, 19, 3 for 19. with 5 strikeouts and 1 walk, like that's not going to get it done. And no RBIs to show for as well. Like the only runs scored in that game, the only RBIs came from Adam Frazier, Nick Lofton, and John Rave. Like that's it. And it's important for those guys to come through to be able to, save the offense a little bit. But it can't be everything. You need Bobby to come through. You need Vinny to come through. You need India to not punch out 3 times and get on base. All of that to say, maybe it's hyperbolic. I don't think it is. Like, this is not a playoff team. You cannot go to Miami out of a break where you had playing some decent baseball, prior to, and lose 2 or 3 to a not a good baseball team. Like, you have to beat the teams on your schedule. You got to take advantage of playing teams that are not that good. And this Miami team is trending in the right direction in certain spots. Like Kyle Stowers is really good. They got some pitchers that are decent. Xavier Edwards is becoming a decent leadoff hitter. But like they are not a good team. I think pound for pound the Royals are better. They didn't show it this weekend though, and that's the problem. If you're going to be a playoff team, you got to play like one. And now you're going to go play the Cubs, and you're 21-35 against teams with winning records. And the Cubs are playing good baseball. They got a bunch of talent. Dansby, Pete Crow Armstrong, Kyle Tucker. Matthew Boyd's pitched well for them this year. Shota Imanaga. Are you going to be able to hang with them, especially on the road? I don't know. I don't have faith in it anymore. Like, I wanted to see how they would come out of the break, and it would, help my assessment a little bit. And now you could also say, well, they're playing the Marlins. Like, yes, but if they dispatched of them like they did the Pirates, that's like, okay, they beat the teams in front of them. They took advantage of playing a bad team. Now let's see where the test lands. You lose 2 or 3 in that series. It's time. And this isn't like the season is entirely over. But I've reached a point of I'm focusing on what they're going to do at the deadline to make them better for 2026. Because that's what they have to do now. This is where Seth Lugo, thank you for your service. You helped us get back to the playoffs. You helped steady this rotation. Awesome veteran presence. But we have to make a business decision here. Because we know you're not coming back next year. They're not. Seth Lugo was not opting into that player option. Because it's $15 million, which is a good chunk of change, but he's going to get more on the open market. This is where you tell Carlos Estevez, yeah, we signed you to a 2-year deal, but if the right offer comes around and a team wants you for a playoff run, which wouldn't be shocking, everyone wants bullpen arms, that's there. Schreiber is a free agent at the end of the season. His name is going to come up as a middle relief type, I would imagine. Someone's going to call on Chris Bubich. I don't think they make that move, but a team that is desperate for starting pitching might pull the trigger on a Godfather offer. And at that point, you need to have a serious conversation. This is not them selling Bobby and Mike. This isn't blowing up the team, but it is leveraging the assets that you have to make your team better for next season. They taught Andy Rogers, it was reported, and this is kind of the thing that I've been talking about, them doing a little bit of both. I think that's still the case, but it's not going to be buying for now. It's going to be buying for 2026 and beyond, because this core that is, as it's presently constituted, I think it's still good enough to get you to the playoffs. This year has gone awry, and that happens to teams that have not had consistent playoff success. But you have the right pieces there and the right people in that room to get back there. But it's not this year. It's just not. You got to reset for 26 and hope that with some additions maybe in the offseason, they tried to do that this year. They really didn't dip into the free agent market too much, besides Lorenzen and then Waka, who was, I don't even think he actually hit free agency. They just got the extension done. You make that trade for Jonathan India. You trade Brady Singer. I'm not going to relitigate that one. I think it was still the right move. It just hasn't worked, but it hasn't worked for either side. Brady Singer's pitching to a near 4.5 ERA right now in Cincinnati. And it also allowed them to give Chris Bubich the innings he did, and Chris Bubich was an all-star. So I think you still net out that one, positive for Kansas City just a little bit, not even by much. If you want to talk about who won the trade. But it's just not going to happen for this team this year. There's too much inconsistency. I think they're flawed in multiple directions, and it felt like they were still going to be able to cover some of it up with the pitching staff and the star power like a Bobby Wood Jr., Vinny coming on, Michael taking steps forward, and it's just not enough. But that's not to say that we're not talking about this team being in wild card or, say AL Central contention in 2026. This is not the end of this version of the Kansas City Royals. Just this year, they have to know who they are. They have to be self-aware enough to go, hey, we need to make some moves to better ourselves for the future. And like now, try and find a control outfield bat. Try and find, some more starters just to keep building up the farm system that way. Don't think they give up anybody significant from the farm system to make this happen. But we'll see. There's going to be a lot of discussions over the next 11 days leading up to the trade deadline and what this team's going to do, who they're going to be for the rest of the year. And then my mind is kind of shifted to how are they going to get better for 2026? How's Cags going to improve? How's Bobby going to end this season? That's obviously been disappointing relative to what he's been the last 2 years. How's Vinny end this year? He's heading into arbitration. How is that going to go? How does Michael keep it up, or does he start to deteriorate down the stretch? Does Salvi make it to 300? Does he continue this stretch? What does that club option look like for 26? Which I'd almost guarantee they opt into. I don't think they let Salvi walk into free agency. I don't think they decline it. It would just be odd to do that to your captain. But we'll see. Obviously, there's business decisions that are above my head that are going to be made, and we'll see how those end up. So let's go some probables here for this series with the Chicago Cubs. It's going to be Noah Cameron versus Ryan Brazier, who is a reliever. So that could be a potential bullpen day for the Cubs. 7:05 first pitch at Wrigley there. Tuesday, it's TBD because that would be Michael Lorenzen's start day. But he has an oblique injury from that the team said that it relates back to when he got sick over the last week. I'm like, I've been sick in my life. I've been miserable. I cannot imagine how sick you have to be to pull an oblique getting sick. Like that sounds awful. And I'm glad he's okay because, man, that's tough. They expect him to miss 1 to 2 starts, and then he's going to be back. So could be a potential bullpen day. That could be also a potential Rich Hill / Dallas Keuchel spot start. Don't imagine either of those guys are on the team for long, but if it could fall there, or it could be a Johnny Holstaff bullpen game like they did the Saturday of the Mets series. It just depends on how the roster kind of shakes out and the moves they need to make that happen. And then it'll be Seth Lugo, potentially in his last start in a Kansas City uniform, 1:20 first pitch on Wednesday, TBD for the Cubs. I want to see them just can they get one? Right? Can they get one? Maybe they get one early in the series, get a little bit of confidence. And then maybe that Noah Cameron start. The start on Tuesday is going to be tough because it could be a bullpen day, or it could be a 40-something Rich Hill and a mid to upper 30s Dallas Keuchel start. Like, who knows what that's going to be against Matthew Boyd, who was an all-star. If you get one of those two, Lugo will give you a chance to win, and we'll see where it goes. But can they get one and build a little bit of confidence going forward, heading back to a homestand against Cleveland and the Braves coming up here at the end of this week, beginning of next, before the deadline? We'll see. I kind of counted this team out based on some of my commentary from earlier, based on where I think they are in the you can't come out of the All-Star break that way against that team, and we'll see. They play over the next 9, and we'll see where they fall. I appreciate everybody that listened to this. A little shorter episode, but didn't feel like spending too much time on all 3 of these games. I think I hit the main points of them. Leave any comments down below. Let me know other people that you think should be part of the trade market for Kansas City. potential guys that we may be eyeing in trades, depending on, where these guys might end up, and your outlook for 26, because I think that's kind of where we're all heading at this point. I do not have any bourbon with me. I normally do, but I'm recording a little earlier than I normally do, so not going to have a glass of bourbon before I put my children to bed. So, toast game to John Rave for first 2 big league homers. That was awesome. Good for him, and glad to see him have a little bit of success. I'm curious if he continues to get a little bit of a chance, at the big league level for the rest of the year, and what that means for next year, and we'll go from there. But I appreciate everybody listening. We will talk on Tuesday night. That one's probably not gonna be live, but by Thursday for sure, which would be an off day. That could be a little bit more of a long form live show where we can get a little more in depth on some of the trade stuff, because by that time you got 6 games, and depending on how this Cubs series goes, it might really put the Royals in sell mode. So we'll see. Talk to you all later this week. Have a great one.